Have you ever looked at a Lego set and thought, wow, that's a lot of money for a pile of plastic bricks? And if that answer was yes, you are not alone. So Lego is often considered one of the most expensive toys in the world, and with its ever-growing catalog of Lego sets and with the recent release of Lego's most expensive and probably most controversial Lego set ever, the price of Lego has really been a heated discussion recently. Here in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at a couple of the things that go into pricing Lego, and of course give my opinion on the question that everybody is asking, is Lego getting too expensive? So in my opinion, before we start having a conversation about the price of Lego sets, I think it's almost important to backtrack a little and really clarify what we mean by is Lego getting too expensive. And that is, are we saying Lego is expensive or are we saying Lego is overpriced? When we're talking about the price of a Lego set, we often just see the high price tag. Take the new Lego Star Wars Death Star, for example. That is a $1,000 Lego set, and everybody is looking at that set and going, oh my god, Lego is really expensive. But are we saying it's expensive because that price tag of $1,000 is just a lot of money? Or are we saying it is overpriced, and meaning that $1,000 price tag is just too much for what we're getting? I wanted to open up this video with that because I think it is an important distinction. Expensive means it costs a lot. You know, it's a pretty price tag, but it's probably relatively a fair value, versus overpriced means it's a high price compared to what you're actually getting. So my question is, where does Lego fall? So I think one thing that we can all agree on is Lego is expensive. Overpriced is another discussion, but yes, Lego is expensive. And from my perspective, with just doing some research and some general knowledge, I feel like there's a few reasons why Lego is so expensive. So of course, for starters, the high quality standards. Lego is expensive because it is a premium brick brand. It's a premium toy, it's a premium product, and honestly, it always has been. And while there has definitely been certain instances where Lego has failed and let us down on terms of quality and just general product that they bring to the table, like what brand has it, for the most part, Lego is a premium product because of its quality. Like for example, when you get a Lego set, the pieces in that set are precise. They are molded the same way every time. They have the same colors, they have the same feel. It is very rare that you would get a defective Lego part in your Lego set. They've got very strict quality standards. It happens, but it is rare that you open up a Lego set where a piece is maybe mismolded, or it's the wrong color, or they're missing pieces, or missing bags, or whatever it may be. Those instances do happen, but as I said, they're far and few between, and that goes into it being a quality product. And of course, Lego wouldn't have that quality product if they didn't do a lot of work behind the scenes that we are never gonna see. The more I learn about Lego, the more I respect them being a quality product, because I recently learned how much goes into making a Lego set. You know, like the designers aren't just sitting down with a bucket of bricks, coming up with an idea, building it, and then sending it off to production. There is so much that actually goes into a Lego set. It is unbelievable. You know, I've recently learned that they put these sets in a room with kids. They get the prototypes. They see whether or not they want to play with it, what they like, what they don't like. They do all sorts of like safety testing. Like I learned on one set, for example, they actually, you know, heat it up to see how it molds over time in a hot climate. They cool it down to see what happens to the bricks, to see if they move or they shift, which was mind-blowing to me. I've never once considered that when designing a Lego set, how if, you know, a Lego art piece will hang on the wall over time if it's exposed to a hot climate or something like that, which is wild. And of course, they just have to make sure all the designs are safe. The pieces are like measured down to the correct millimeters, because under a certain measurement, the piece could break off and a kid could choke. Like there are so many things that go into designing a Lego product, and that all rolls into it being, you know, a very good quality. Of course, what also keeps Lego expensive is like the licensing costs, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. A Star Wars set has all these licensing fees they have to pay for Disney, a Harry Potter one, you know, Lord of the Rings, whatever the theme is, they've got to pay licensing themes to the person that owns the license. And then of course there's like all the packaging and marketing costs that go into a product. You know, you can't just throw the bricks into a bag and ship it to the store. You've got to put it into a box. It has to be designed. It's got to have instructions. It's got to be properly weighed. It's got to be packaged. It's got to be shipped. There's tariffs right now. Like so much is going on there. And then of course you've got to market the product. I've noticed Lego's been doing a ton more marketing recently, which makes sense. You know, you see TV ads, you see magazine ads, bus shelters, digital billboards, like so much at a home. Of course, there's land marketing as well, and so much more. And that all contributes to the cost of an expensive Lego product. And before anyone takes my words out of sorts here, when I talk about land marketing, yes, that does come at a cost to Lego, but I just want to make it very clear that I don't think the Lego Ambassador Network is what's driving up the price of these Lego sets. I could make an entire video giving my thoughts on land right now, especially with all the hate that they were getting in the Death Stars. I have a lot of thoughts on it, but I just want to be very clear that giving influencers and members of the community free product for them to make videos that generate sales is probably one of the cheapest forms of marketing that Lego can do. Giving a $1,000 set to 30 people, which yes, $30,000 in retail is not actually costing Lego $30,000. Maybe it's costing them like $10,000, $15,000, $8,000, whatever that number is, that is still significantly less than other less effective forms of advertising. It costs thousands and thousands of dollars to do a single TV commercial, or to do a single bus shelter, or to wrap a train or a streetcar like I've seen here in Toronto. So no, land is not driving up the price of Lego sets, but it is contributing to the overall marketing cost. But anyway, as I said, I can make a whole separate video on that, but I just wanted to go through some of the reasons why I think Lego is expensive. But talking about all of that, I think does drive the question, is Lego more expensive now, or are we just a little bit more conscious of the price? So for example, like it is hard to look at a Lego set from say like the 1990s and compare it apples to apples to a Lego set that we get now, because like sets from the 90s, like it's no argument that those sets were more basic. The designs aren't nearly as good. There are less pieces, less colors, less complexity, less prints, less molds. Like there is so much less in a set from the 90s than there is a set from this year, like 2025. You can't compare them. The sets from the 90s are great for what they were, but like Lego's come a long way in their design process, in their product offering, in their quality. Like it has changed a lot since then. So I think that has driven to the price. You know, if Lego was going to just, you know, keep it the exact same price, but over time without innovating in product development, then we would not be seeing the amazing and detailed Lego sets that we get today. So that is one thing to keep in mind. But I think one thing that we're also, you know, noticing is just more adult sets in the lineup. I remember as a kid, not even as a kid, like 5-10 years ago, everybody, all the AFOLs in the community were like, Lego doesn't do any sets for us. It's only for kids. And Lego's really shifted their position since then. We now have an adults welcome line. We've got icons. We've got so many sets that I feel like are really more geared towards the AFOLs. They heard us complaining way back when. They just couldn't act on it right away because they designed their product so far in advance. But we are seeing it now that Lego listened to us complain for decades about not having adult sets, and now we're getting those adult sets. And I think we're just almost at a fatigue with them because we're getting so many adult sets. We used to be able to buy all the larger sets, all the big sets that Lego put out, but that's because they were putting out so few sets that were more geared towards adults. But now here we are in 2025 where there are so many Lego sets and so many sets that are meant for adults that's like, oh, we haven't shifted that mindset that we need to buy all of them. And I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes, but that is a key thing to remember. I think it's funny when talking about the price of Lego as well, because one metric that we constantly use is like price per piece. And I think that helps kind of differentiate an expensive Lego set versus an overpriced Lego set. I think the price per piece metric has a lot of faults in it as well. But like I talked about earlier, you know, the Lego Death Star, for example, yes, it does cost $1,000, but it does also have over 9,000 pieces in it. But that's like a 9-cent price per part ratio, which is honestly not bad. There are many other Lego sets out there that cost over $100 that have, for example, like 500 pieces or something like that, which means that's like 20 cents per piece. Like it really, that's not the best metric to measure it, but I do think it is kind of like a good benchmark when you're talking about expensive versus overpriced. Those, you know, as I said earlier, those are different. I think just another interesting point that I just thought of as well when talking about like adult sets compared to kids sets, you know, you have to sell 5 $20 sets to kids. So basically you have to sell that same set 5 different times to make the same amount of money that you would have to sell $100 set to one adult. So I think that is something that Lego probably also considers. You know, if they can make and manufacture 5 sets and make $500 versus make and manufacture 25 sets to still make that $500, that is a pretty big difference. I also think it is worth noting that when we talked a little bit earlier about the quality of Lego, there are a lot of alternate brick brands that you can choose from. I've actually started taking a look at more of them on my channel over the last like 2 years or so, because I recognize that a lot of my viewers are feeling a little bit price fatigued in terms of the Lego sets and how much they're spending on them and what they're getting for it. So I think it is worth noting that there are alternatives out there. You are free to explore those alternatives however you may please. I personally still remain a Lego collector, and as much as I like taking a look at these alternate brick brand sets, they are great. They have great designs. I've always said in every single one of those videos, I can tell that it's not a Lego set just because of the quality of the pieces, the quality of the designs, but they are really good alternatives. So I'm happy that those alternatives are in the market, and while they're not really for me and I don't actively collect them, I think it's really good that they're giving Lego a little bit of a run for their money, especially the ones that contain like light kits and stuff like that, just because competition is really healthy in a world like this. And even though they're not meeting the same quality that Lego is, it's still really important, because as good as those sets start to get and the price point they come in at, Lego does have to, stop and give their head a little bit of a shake, because there are actual competitors out there now that could come close to competing with Lego. So while Lego may seem expensive or overpriced to you, it is worth noting that the alternatives that are out there on the market, there is a difference. There is a gap between what Lego's offering and what they're offering. Like, you're not just buying the bricks, you are also buying the Lego experience. One thing that does come out of all the discussion of whether Lego is expensive or, overpriced, and the price of Lego in general, is overall like the community impact that it has here on us Lego fans. I think with the price of Lego sets, it does create a little bit of a barrier to entry. Lego is expensive. Lego is a premium product. It is a premium experience, and if you're a kid or someone who doesn't have a lot of discretionary income, that could create a barrier to you being part of the Lego hobby. The best part about Lego is that you can disassemble a set, rebuild it, and build mocks and stuff like that with the same pieces. So it is one of those things that's a little endless. Like, you're not just buying a set once and then displaying it, never doing anything with it again. Like, it is a reusable product. I do understand where people say that you need to have a lot of that reusable product to make it, more worth your while. Like, it's going to be more fun for a kid who has 4 or 5 Lego sets to play with than somebody with just one. It's just the way it is. The more sets you add, the more storylines you can have, the more pieces you have to build with, the more fun, yada, yada, yada. Like, it definitely does create a little bit of a barrier to entry. If a parent or grandparent's walking in the toy aisle looking for a birthday present, or the kid just has $20 for their allowance, like, you could get one Lego set for $20, maybe, possibly. At this point, it's maybe not. Or you can get like other toys for the same $20. Maybe you're getting more for your value there. So like, it does create a little bit of a barrier to entry, which I think is worth noting. I also think there are community impacts in like the exclusivity or like the status symbol that comes along with some of these really expensive sets and ones that have really high price tags. They're exclusive in the sense that if you don't get it now, it will go away eventually. Like, these Lego sets do retire. So you kind of feel like, oh, if I want to be an AFOL, I have to get this set. And if I don't get this set, I'm gonna miss out, which leads me into my next point of FOMO. FOMO is a huge factor here in the Lego community. I made a whole video talking about FOMO in the Lego space and buying sets that I don't even really want because I'm afraid of wanting them later down the line, or afraid of missing out on this really cool set. The set that I talked about having FOMO over is still in my closet sealed, like I haven't even touched it. So FOMO is another big part of the Lego space. Like, you're afraid that set is gonna run out, you're not gonna get it. And then Lego also does things like gift with purchases that are limited, and you can only get them for a couple days at a time, and you often have to spend $150, $250, $300 or whatever it is to get that free set. So now you have FOMO because the set's going to retire, but you also have FOMO because you don't want to miss out on this really cool gift with purchase, which is crazy because now it's like a double-edged sword. And the last like community impact I think the pricing of Lego has is just like the community itself. Everybody online is sharing their massive Lego rooms, their massive Lego halls, their massive Lego sets, their massive Lego cities or Star Wars bases or whatever it is. And you're kind of like comparing yourself. You're like, oh my gosh, if this person has this huge Lego room, you look at my Lego room, I've got like dozens of bookshelves full of Lego sets. It lacks context. Like, right, like you forget that I do this. This is my job. I have to buy Lego sets for my job. I used to work at the Lego store. I got them 50% off. I've been collecting for like 15 years almost. I've been gifted so many of these sets. Like, you're missing the context when you just look at how many sets I have. You look at people who are showing their latest and greatest sets online. You don't know what their financial situation's like. They could be a millionaire, which is probably what we all think, like, oh my God, look at how much money they have. Or they could be going into credit card debt for a Lego set. Like, you literally have no idea. So that's like one of the dangers of trying to compare yourself. You don't know someone's financial status. You just kind of assume based on what they buy and what they show off. And I'm guilty of making so many haul videos over the years where I'm like, look at all the Lego I bought. And like, sometimes I would forget to say like, oh, I work at the Lego store. This was actually all 50% off. Like, it's not dishonest, but it like certainly gives a different perspective and different perception. So I think when you watch everything online, you kind of get into that mindset like, oh, I want to be like them. I want to collect like them. Everybody's circumstances are different. And I just think sometimes that pressure of sharing online creates, you know, envy or jealousy or unrealistic expectations. Like I've said throughout this video, I just feel like there are tons of different things that go into the cost of Lego sets. Those are some of my perspectives and some of the things that I've thought of that I've jotted notes down for this video. And again, I really think it does beg the question, and I don't have an answer for it, but is Lego just expensive? Is it just a premium product? Is it a luxury toy? Is it a luxury item? Is it just something that costs more than we want to spend, but it's worth it? Or is it overpriced? And I think those are two really big different things, like I've said throughout the video. I think it's important, worth noting them, and I'm really curious to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Like, do you think Lego is just expensive? And in that case, I guess it is what it is. We know what we're getting ourselves into. It's a luxury set. Or is Lego overpriced? Are they making way too much money, as we've seen from their financial statements, while still charging their consumers and customers like us way too much for what we're actually getting? Are they blaming the price increase on unnecessary things like tariffs? So many retailers are citing tariffs for their rising prices, but it's like the price of the item went up more than the price of the tariffs. So I don't know how that works. So it's like, yeah, is Lego expensive? And in that case, yeah, it makes sense because it's a luxury product. Or is it like, wait a second, are we blinded by the fact that we think it's a luxury product and we're just letting Lego gouge us? Again, I feel like that question is a little subjective. There's a lot more to it than I could ever discuss here in this video. I guess I have to say, in my opinion, I would say Lego is expensive and not overpriced. I think it is expensive. Don't get me wrong. The price of certain sets is like, woo, that's a lot. But like I've said throughout this video, I think there are reasons behind the price. And I think that as much as there's certain sets I will never buy because they cost too much money, I understand why they cost too much. And that's not to say that there are some Lego sets that are definitely overpriced, and we've seen that before. And we've seen the way that Lego will have to discount them just to sell the set. But yeah, I think Lego's just started making more expensive sets than we as consumers like know how to handle or know what to do with, and that's why it's kind of led to this little burnout that we're all getting with like expensive Lego sets. I agree, it's frustrating when we look at the profits from Lego over the years and we see how much money they're making and how much these sets are costing. And I guess my final thoughts for everybody here in this video is the price of Lego is subjective. While the set costs the same for everybody, we at the end of the day are all in different financial statuses. We all have different incomes, we all have different means, and I think it's important that we all take the conscious effort ourselves to be living within our means. As a consumer, you need to decide yourself what is worth the price, what may be overpriced, or what just is cool but maybe too expensive. We don't have to buy every Lego set, popular to contrary belief. Like I've said, we can take a little bit of a break from seeing what everybody posts online to not have to try and compete with what our friends are getting or what we see our favorite content creators getting. And sometimes we could strip all the layers back to just enjoy Lego for what it was, the creativity and the building experience and the enjoyment we get from a set. I know myself, I've cut back on buying a lot of Lego sets because I was buying so many sets, I was forgetting what I was building, I wasn't taking my time to build them, and I wasn't like enjoying it. I was like, no, if I'm going to be spending all this money on this product, I need to take my time, I need to enjoy it, and I want everything I buy to have more purpose than just buying it for the sake of buying it. And for the record, I'm not making this video to defend Lego or anything like that. I myself am not affiliated with Lego in any way, shape, or form. I just have been a Lego collector for many, many years now, so I've been around the community. I've spoken to thousands and thousands of Lego fans. I purchased thousands of sets, spent tens of thousands of dollars on Lego sets, and these are just my opinions. These are not me defending Lego because I am cheap. I am frugal just like the rest of you. I would love to see the price of Lego be cheaper because the cheaper a Lego set is, the more Lego I could buy. Like, duh, it's easy economics. But at the same time, I also want to be realistic and I want to recognize why Lego is pricing their sets the way they are. And I'm not saying they're perfect, and I'm not saying there are times where it's not overpriced or too expensive, and I fully agree with everybody there. But I just think it's worth noting some of these facts and having a discussion and a dialogue about it versus just saying Lego's overpriced and Lego's crap. Like, as I said, I'm not defending Lego, but I wanted to have this open conversation with everybody and share some of my thoughts on it. So there you have it, you guys. These are all my thoughts on whether I think Lego is expensive or not. I know I said a lot in this video, so I'd love for you to let me know down in the comments below what you think. Do you think Lego is overpriced, or do you just think it is expensive? I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys think down in the comments below, and I will see you guys here in the next video.